Hello, this is Cotton Stoops, and welcome back to another Lumion Legacy HTUC video, and today's video is on the second Lumion to come out of the Halloween event, and that is Imperior. Imperior is pretty unique with what it has, so let's talk about it. From counters and checks and teammates to the sets and roles Imperior can play, and of course the weaknesses, resistances, and immunities. This video is everything you need to know on how to use and counter Imperior. So the first question we must ask is, what role does Imperior play? And we can answer this question with its base stats. Its base stats are pretty simple because melee attack is not really the best, and its melee defense and range defense are all pretty bad, so I wouldn't try to use these defenses. And its HP stat is okay, but then again its defenses are super low, so it's actually not as bulky, and its energy stat is 91, which does let it use a couple of moves, but generally this is not really the best, but it does have more move capabilities than the starters. But it does have some good range attack and speed to make up for these defenses. 100 in speed is on par with Vesperatu and Amare, but it does get outsped by Garlash, Zulong, Hunter, Gwendolyn, Vesperatu sometimes, and I guess you can count Volkloa. So, with that out of the way, what role does Imperior play? Well, it does have good enough range attack to make it a decently strong cleaner, and of course it is decently fast. Not the fastest, but of course Imperior can be fast with certain items and personalities. And the main thing that you should be knowing is that it is fast enough for supportive capabilities. Imperior has a lot of great support moves, which is pretty important in the sets later on. So with that out of the way, let's talk about its weaknesses and resistances. Imperior's typing to Dark is of course not really the best because it's just a pure typing. You'll have 3 weaknesses to Bug, Fire, and Light. Bug types like Harvesect is pretty much the only bug type that's common, but that might change soon. Fire types like Pyrolin, Seer Knight, and Chartiki are some stuff you should be swatching out for, and light types like Nimore, Luminami, Valkyrie, you should be watching out for those. While you do hit these light types super effectively, you're pretty frail and don't hit the hardest, so it's not really worth 1v1ing with them if they're at full HP. And 3 resistances to Dark, Spirit, and Mind. Dark types like other Imperiors, your Soul Slapdowns, Vesperatus are some good stuff to switch in on. Dark types, or rather Spirit types like Vesperatu, Revenine, and some other stuff are some good stuff to switch in on, and I guess you can count Harvesect. And Mind types like Shachi, Ferroglyph, Metatode, Metronet, Cosmiors are some good mind types to switch in on. So with that out of the way, let's talk about Imperior sets. So Isaac actually helped me out with this. So this is Isaac's support set with the ability Handy. Handy is so you can use your support moves first, and while this is going to be a speeding set, generally Handy is going to be the best for the support set. And personality will be very nimble, clumsy, foolish. Clumsy is to decrease the stat we're not using, and yes, clumsy. And foolish is so we can decrease the higher defense stat or the lower defense stat, so we can make Protagon not get a boost. And Heavy Shackles and Clutch Plushie are your choice of items. Of course you can run some other moves like some pearls, but Heavy Shackles is to barter them off obviously, and Clutch Plushie is to survive a move because you're not really the most bulkiest thing in the world. And the moveset of choice: Provoke, Health Gift, Fade Away, and Dark Surge, Barter, Tribute, Deja Vu, and of course you have that new move as well. Provoke is here so we can stop Lumions from setting up or having barbs, which you do have Handy, which is pretty good. Health Gift is okay, you don't really need it, but it is a move option. Fade Away and Dark Surge are going to be your main moves in my opinion, mainly because while you are running Clumsy, Dark Surge is enough to do a lot of damage, and Fade Away is so we can pivot out and predict some Lumion switching, so that's good. Barter is if you want to run Heavy Shackles. Tribute, you can of course run this if you do want to, and Deja Vu is a good alternative as well. And the TPs, 200 HP, 200 speed is to maximize our speed and our HP stat. 48 energy is to use 2 tricky tactics, 2 provokes, and 2 fadeaways. And the melee attack is the leftovers. You can invest them into the range attack, but generally you can invest them into the melee attack so you can increase our damage with fadeaway. You can also run frail if you want to, but generally running clumsy is what's preferred. The second set is by Isaac again, and this cleaning set is of course the Imperior cleaning. The ability of choice will be resentful or devious. Devious is more consistent, so I'd run devious. And the personality, smart, nimble, very frail, will be your personality. This is so you don't have to decrease any defenses, but of course you can run a very personality if you want. And Dark Essence, Clutch Plushie can be your items of choice. Clutch Plushie is the same as last time, and Dark Essence is to boost our stab. You can of course run other essences or shells if you really want to, but generally these items are the best. And Peace of Mind, Boom Bash, Dark Surge, and Shrewd Blast is what I prefer, so you can run that as well. There are not a lot of other options of moves you can run, so this is your main moveset. And the TPs, 44 energy lets you use 2 Peace of Minds, 2 Shrewd Blasts, 2 Dark Surges, and 1 Boom Bash. 56 HP is leftovers, and 200 range attack and speed is to max those stats out. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the teammates and the counters and checks. The offensive counters and checks to Imperior is pretty simple. You just want to run stuff that can hit it super effectively, and most of the time it's gonna 2-hit KO or 1-hit KO. Fire types like Volcaloa and Pyrolin are some good stuff. Bug types like Terrafly and Ticlipse and Protagon with their light type moves can be beneficial. Obviously there are after mentions like Nemare, Valkyrie, and some other stuff like that, but generally you want to run stuff that are either bulky enough or are either faster enough. So yeah, and defensive counters and checks for Imperior is pretty simple as well. It's basically offensive, but they want to tank hits as well. Stuff like Terraclaw, Swolder, and Harvestect are great defensive bug types for this. Generally, you just want to run Harvestect, but you can run the other two as well. And Seer Knight, Tyrex, and Cinemars are some good fire and earth types you should be using. Seer Knight is what I wouldn't really recommend, but Cinemars is probably the better one, and Tyrex, it is okay, but not generally the best because it does get hit super effectively with Boom Bash. And of course, with that out of the way, offensive teammates is pretty simple as well. You just want to run stuff that can break the walls or support Imperior. Pivots, well, not pivots generally, but Nemare, Wintrix, and Zeppelin are all pretty good because Imperior is weak to fire and bug types, so air types will be really good for it. Ice types like Mocho is also pretty decent, and Ticlipse, Totab, and Revenine are all pretty good. If your Imperior dies to Resentful, Revenine can come switch in with its Vengeful ability, or whatever it's called, and actually do a lot of damage, so that's pretty fun. Totab and Ticlipse are generally good hyper offense staples, so yeah. And the final thing, defensive teammates, they're pretty simple as well. They're just like the offensive ones, but they support Imperior and the whole team. Basically, Phasenaut is also pretty good, just like anything, because Phasenaut is one of the best stuff for hyper offense. And of course, Tratiki, Luminami, and Maomerc are some good light resists or immunities. And of course, Barblast is pretty good because it can tank most of the stuff that I said in offensive counters and checks. And Cinemars and Obsidian are generally good. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the conclusion and my thoughts on Imperior. So yeah, this is Imperior. One thing that I noticed while making this video is that Imperior pairs really well with very good hyper offense Lumians. Like I said earlier, Zeppelin, Mocho, Nemare, and Wintrix are some really good Lumians to use for Imperior, mainly because they are air types and they can deal with the bug and fire types that Imperior is weak to pretty well. Now, I might just be reading into this a lot and over the top, but I think Imperior might actually be a really good dark horse of the meta. I don't really think it's gonna make it far with the support set, but offensive set is what I think it's probably gonna be the best. So yeah, sub to Isaac Newbie who helped me out with this video, and of course like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're into these kind of videos. I have some other videos like the HTUC, whatever, Halvantic, and Metronet, and Nevermare. So yeah, go check them out. And of course, remember